When you think of Tasmania, you probably imagine it's permanently green and an easy place to farm. But the millennium drought, which plagued eastern Australia during the 2000s, showed the state wasn't immune to consecutive years of drought. It spurred the then Labor government to commit spending $400 million drought-proofing the state, which, while making up just 1% of Australia's landmass, receives 12% of the nation's rainfall.
It was dry 2006, 7 and 8 and going into 9, and everyone was at the stage that they wanted to grow. The area's always been a progressive sort of an area, and the next generation was here with a lot of us, and we just wanted to get going.
During that drought, 14 neighbouring farmers in the Northern Midlands, between Epping Forest and Cressy, designed their own irrigation scheme.
We didn't have any water to irrigate. We could really only do the bare minimum. And people had the foresight to get together and scratch their heads and say, OK, how can we make sure this doesn't happen again?
The group asked for government funding, but the then Premier Paul Lennon said no, it was too small.
And he said no, he said, for what it's going to cost you, blokes, you can afford to do it yourself. And we said, well, if we do it ourselves, will you support us? And they did. And that's how we got it built so quick and so successfully.
And how quick was it?
We had our first meeting to talk about it about the 20th of November 2007, and we had the pipeline in, and then we had the opening for it in April 2009. 16 months it took us. The original price of our first piece of pipe that we put in was $5.9 million, and that gave us 57 megs of water to the river a day, and it puts water on 19 titles, so each title was given the opportunity to buy 3 megs of water a day.
Macquarie Settlement Pipeline Partnership members are billed for water and operational and maintenance fees. Rob Bale says at $300 a meg, it's the cheapest water in the state.
Our water would probably be about a third the price of what other farmers are paying, is what it actually cost us.
Why is that?
Because we did it ourselves, we've got very few overheads. It was just a good, simple system.
Rob Bales farms with his brother and both their sons near Cressy. Before MSP, they had a river water right, enough for one pivot irrigator, but supply wasn't guaranteed.
Well, it needed to rain on the east coast if we were going to irrigate, and if it was dry on the east coast, where the river was filled from was dry, so we had nil allocation out of the river.
MSP water is from the west coast and extraordinarily has 98% surety. It's allowed the Bales to grow new crops like strawberry runners and peas.
It's given us the opportunity to grow more peas and a better quality pea. And these will be harvested within 10 days.
And where are they going?
To Simplot, Devonport, to be frozen into Edgell Birdseye product.
Well, it's still pretty yummy now.
They're good chewing, aren't they?
They are.
The family's also consolidated its existing enterprises, including wool and meat sheep, beef cattle, cereals, grass seed, and lucerne and grass hay. From one pivot 24 years ago, they now have 15, and there'll be more.
Yep.
The Great Western Tiers dominates this pocket of Tasmania. The western or farm-facing side marks the edge of the Central Plateau, home to Great Lake, which feeds water to the Poatina Power Station about halfway down the escarpment. After generating power, the water is discharged. The bulk's diverted north to another power station. The rest goes south towards the farms.
And when that power plant's generating power, there's always water coming out, and our group of farmers have invested in that.
For the Downies at Epping Forest, rainfall of 580 millimetres, or 23 inches in the old scale, was never enough to irrigate with confidence. Now 20% of the farm is under pivots, watering grass for livestock and crops.
We're probably doing about 500, 600 hectares of pivoted irrigation, and there is scope for more. We've been operating now for 12 or so years, and it's consistently delivered.
With year-round grass, they're running more animals, but pressure on the land has decreased. The sheep are cutting more wool and cattle are reaching higher weights faster. A doubling of economic activity was predicted, but David Downey believes it's quadrupled.
There's been a massive investment in irrigation and agricultural activity within the catchment.
Was there a level of stress in your life back then that you just don't have now?
Definitely. There was always stress about whether the rivers would keep flowing enough for water for irrigation.
Yeah, it should be right to wean, mid-February, do you reckon?
Son Alex is back home and says he has more options than his dad did.
Keep an open mind, and Dad does as well, what different ways we can do things and other areas that we can get into, and it's definitely an option going forward. Yeah, something niche and something maybe like, I don't know, cherries or something like that, yeah.
Across the road is James Walsh. Water has revolutionised his business.
Means that all the enterprises have an equal chance of performing well. In the good years we can do it really good. In the badder years when we've only got the MSP water, we can pull back and concentrate on our high value crops. So it really gives us that flexibility.
He's diversified into something not seen in the Midlands before, wine grapes. They've proved such a winner, he's doubling the vineyard to 12 hectares. His customer, a well-known winery, will take all he produces. All these options make it attractive for the next generation. James's son also recently came home.
Agriculture's had a resurgence as a career to be part of. When I came back, people were looking at going and doing all sorts of other careers because they didn't see a future in farming. I just think it's so exciting to have this younger generation who are just so keen to get back into farming. And you can see it around here. It's their enthusiasm and drive that is really going to progress things in the next 20 years.
Last year, members spent several $1 million updating equipment and adding a new branch line, which increased available water by a third. For 13 years, Loretta Atley has taken orders every Sunday and then physically turned valves on and off so water gets to the right place on time. Investment in automation means soon she'll run it from her phone.
And the farmers are constantly coming up with different ideas and different ways to do things. So, yeah, so it's always changing, and I think that's the best thing, that, you know, that it's evolving and growing with the needs of everyone around us. The second generation since I've been involved are now starting to take over and order the water, and some of them have come on to the committee, so definitely has been a changing of the guard.
The prize for the most startling land use change goes to the Rigneys. 15 years ago, they surprised locals by moving out of mixed farming.
George, why pick the hardest job in agriculture, dairy farming?
Well, Pip, I don't know. It's probably could be explained as the hardest, but it's also very rewarding. And from our perspective, it's probably one of the least riskiest agricultural pursuits.
So this is just a really big grass farm for you?
That's exactly right. So the grass is now our crop, and the cows are the harvesters.
The cows just came out of here last night, so we're going to top that today.
Dairying meant there was enough work for George and brother Rob to farm together with their father Alan, a founding MSP member. On 3 properties, there's 2 dairies with 2,400 cows producing around 13 million litres of milk.
We're trying to create a year-round spring, so we want to get the cows so they never go without. They have the best every day of every week of the year.
They grow all the feed they need, and after decades of cropping, their tired soils have improved.
We're getting really good crops now because the soils had 10 or 12 or 13 years to rest, and it's had all the manure and all of that on it, so we find it hard to grow a bad crop of anything now.
supporters de-risked 14 farming operations and underpinned profitability. With George Rigney going as far to say they know they'll make a profit every year. It's a sweet spot to be in.
If someone said vineyards would be grown 50 years ago, they would have laughed at us. If someone said there was going to be dairy farms in this region, they also would have laughed. The water is the enabler. You know, you put that together with the land, good management, all those kind of things, then the world's our oyster, I reckon.